Wired headphones are back, baby. According to Circana, that's the firm that tracks retail sales across the industry, wired headphone revenues jumped 20% in just the first 6 weeks of 2026. 20%. Since your phone manufacturer gave up on the headphone jack, you're going to need an adapter. There is no shortage of cheap USB-C to 3.5mm audio adapters on the market. If you look at the product listings, they all claim to deliver high-res lossless audio. Today we're going to look at the actual numbers behind 4 of these adapters, and more importantly, what happens when you push them with real uncompressed audio. Stick around.
Let's go into the MonroeWorld.
Hi everyone, Shane R. Monroe here. We are looking at options from Zoox, that's a $6 no-name you've definitely seen on Amazon, Ugreen at $10, and FiiO's JA11 and KA11 ranging up to $33. I'm running them all through my mid-tier consumer Sennheiser HD300s and testing with uncompressed CD-ripped FLAC files straight off my Samsung Galaxy S24. Now, your phone still has a DAC inside. It has to. Every device that produces audio has one. But without a headphone jack, it's got nowhere to go for wired headphones. So the phone hands the digital signal off to whatever you plug into that USB-C port. Sony still gets it. The Xperia line has a real headphone jack and a real DAC built in. They're basically the last mainstream holdout. Everyone else has given up. It means the DAC quality in whatever adapter you plug in is now your audio chain. Let's talk about the specs that actually matter. First, power output measured in milliwatts at a given impedance. The Zoox and Ugreen adapters output about 15 to 18 milliwatts, maybe a little less. The FiiO JA11 bumps that to 30 milliwatts. The KA11 hits 200 milliwatts. Power dictates how loud you can get, of course, but more importantly, it dictates headroom. We'll come back to that in a minute. Second, SNR, signal-to-noise ratio. Higher is better. This measures the distance between the music you want to hear and the electrical static you don't. Budget dongles hover around 100 decibels. The KA11 hits 125, giving you a noticeably wider dynamic range. Third, THD, total harmonic distortion. Lower is better. This measures how much the amplifier warps the original signal by adding unwanted frequencies. A good amp makes the audio louder without changing the sound signature. A bad one colors it bad. And finally, the noise floor, the literal background hiss the hardware generates. Lower is better. You want silence during quiet passages, not a faint electrical hum. Now, looking strictly at the numbers, you might think specs don't always matter. The HD300s sit at 18 ohms, incredibly efficient. Mathematically, 18 milliwatts from a cheap dongle is more than enough to drive them to deafening volumes. And if you're streaming compressed audio from Spotify, the finest Cirrus Logic DAC chip in the world won't magically recover data that isn't there. But what the numbers say and what your ears say, those can be two very different things. When pushed to mid to high volumes, the Zoox and Ugreen adapters sounded entirely flat. No life, no dynamics. That's because they hit their power ceiling. When a low-powered amp tries to reproduce a complex, loud dynamic peak in a FLAC file, it runs out of current and it clips the waveform. The audio loses its punch and distorts. The comparison between the two FiiO adapters is where the physics of audio amplification really show themselves. I could clearly hear a quality difference between the JA11 and the KA11, especially as the volume increased. The KA11 could go substantially louder. The absolute maximum tolerable volume on the JA11 was only 2/3 the volume of the KA11. That's the concept of headroom in action. When the JA11 is maxed out, the amplifier is straining and the distortion rises. When the KA11 hits that same decibel level, it isn't even breaking a sweat. It stays in its optimal low distortion sweet spot. Combined with the Cirrus Logic CS43131 DAC chip inside, and that's a name that shows up in gear costing 10 times this much, the instrument separation and clarity at higher volumes were objectively better. So what's the verdict? If you're budget conscious, a casual listener, or mostly streaming from lower resolution services, and you're running efficient headphones like these, go with the FiiO JA11. $15. It's a massive step up in cleanliness and quality over the Zoox and the Ugreen cheap dongles, and it's perfect for everyday use. Fair warning though, it's not on Amazon US yet. You'll need to order from FiiO's official AliExpress store. Totally legit, but takes about a week, maybe longer. But if you consider yourself an audiophile, if you're listening to lossless formats, or if you plan on buying more demanding headphones down the road, you need the KA11. $33. You're paying for a premium DAC chip, and you're future-proofing your setup and buying the headroom to maintain absolute clarity at any volume. $5 over the Ugreen gets you the JA11. $23 over it gets you the KA11. Either way, you're done with this. As always, links in the description for everything we talked about today, and a quick reminder, this channel is funded by affiliate links, so your usage is always appreciated. It's going to wrap it up. I'm Shane R. Monroe. If you like what we're doing here, like, subscribe, hit the bell, hype the video, and leave a comment. As always, take care. We'll see you next time.